What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Now, I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about how big the open world will be in the new Batman game. So I kind of want to have another general discussion video about more aspects of the game. It's been a little while since we've done this, but I've always enjoyed doing videos like this, talking about the new game. And this was something that, I was scrolling. I was trying to see if there was any news of this game, which obviously, shocker, there is none. But I kind of stumbled upon some different websites, some different media outlets writing things, talking about the open world of this game. I thought that this would be kind of a fun topic to do, just so we're all aware. Firstly, I'm still doing Batman videos. I know I'm not doing them as often. I'm trying to take 2 to 3 days a break in between every video, kind of just to make each one seem, like a bigger impact. Next Monday, obviously, is that big day, the March 30th, so we'll see if they do the images for that. I'll have multiple slots open in case they do. So, just keep tuned here. Make sure you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon turned on so you guys know when I make these videos. But next week could be a very, very big week, and in the meantime, we can talk about anything that is breaking news about this game and just general discussion. So the open world, I'll be flat out honest with you guys. I haven't thought that much about the open world of this game. Now, we talked way back in the day, way back August, September, October. We've talked about all these different aspects of how Bruce Wayne needs to be in it more. We talked about basically 5 things we want, 5 things we don't want, different traversal options, not just Batman, but also the other Bat family, right? And different vehicles, stuff like that. But in terms of the open world, I've never really judged it. You know what I mean? I've never really thought, I really expect it to be this big. Now, I think with any open world game, generally, especially in the same kind of franchise. Now, again, this is a soft reboot / maybe full-on reboot, however they want to explain it. But if it's in kind of an area where we're familiar with these kind of games, so again, Batman, even like Spider-Man, you look at Spider-Man, a lot of the rumors regards to Spider-Man 2 are the world, talking actually about it taking place during Christmas, which is a really, really funny thing, but how the world is going to be a little bit bigger. And so when you look at that, when you do these open world games, sometimes, I think most of the time, you expect a bigger world, and if you don't get it, it's kind of a shocker. Actually, one example is The Witcher. So Witcher 3, obviously insanely big world, obviously very much lived in, all that kind of stuff. And then Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red said that world is actually going to be smaller than The Witcher, but it's going to have more stuff in it. So that's something you have to talk about in regards to Batman. Now, the problem that Batman's had over the last every single game, basically, is that there's no people on the streets. And again, we've talked about how to do it, the right ways to do it, the wrong ways to do it, and I get it. You can't just have people on the streets. You can't have Batman walking up, taking selfies with people. You can't have that happening. I get it. But, the bigger the world is, if you expand the world, you do have to try as best you can to have things going on in it. And again, even if you shrink the world a little bit, which honestly I am not, opposed to. I'm not a massive, I'm not going to say that that's a terrible thing to do. You still need to really pack it full of things. Now, Batman, I'd say, has always done a pretty decent job of giving you, now, we've only really had a couple examples of this, but even if you look at Arkham City, which is what everybody kind of feels like is the best one, right? I think that's a fair thing to say. That one had a good amount of stuff always going on, and it really had different parts of the city kind of occupied by different groups, right? I think that's what made it very, very special. Obviously, there were a lot of side missions going on. You look at Arkham Knight. Look, there's a lot of problems with Arkham Knight. We've talked about a lot of those problems. We talked about things that this new Batman game needs to learn from it. I think one of the things you build on from Arkham Knight is really the open world aspects. Now, obviously, the Batmobile could use some work. I would like to see it return in its normal form, but then obviously without the Bat Tank. Basically, we don't need it. I was fine with the Bat Tank. That's a very unpopular minority opinion I have. I was fine with it. I completely understand, and I understand why people don't like it. I also think that we just don't need it in the game. I get that part, but I didn't think it was like the worst thing in the world. But, we'll have the Batmobile. Hopefully we'll have some different options in terms of different vehicles. But I think the goal is to expand upon what you did in Arkham Knight. And now the rumors, again, from our friend James Sigfield, the talk was this Damian Wayne game, the one that was canceled, was supposed to be much larger than what we got in Arkham Knight. And so I would expect, everybody expects, if you cancel Damian Wayne game, we talked about it a lot, right? How much of that are they going to use in their new game? I think a lot. I think quite a lot. I think years down the line, once all of this is said and done, and once, the thing going around the world is gone and all that kind of stuff, once things return to being normal, I think years down the line, we're going to hear like, hey, these were some of the ideas and some of the prototypes we were working on for this game that we couldn't get out, and we put it into this Batman. I feel like we're definitely going to hear that from Warner Bros. Montreal. And again, I have no problem with that. If you're going to make the world bigger, fine. And to be honest, I'm not all that worried about making it bigger. I really, really liked how you got around. Now, I feel like I'm kind of, again, I don't know if I'm in the minority about it, but I feel like I'm definitely, it's not a universal, like everybody loved it. I liked how you got around in Arkham Knight. I liked how you could kind of upgrade, right? Like you're gliding, and when you like attach your grappling hook, and you can kind of speed up as you're ziplining to it. And then when you shoot out and you like, you have the cape, you can go even faster. I like that. I liked how you could kind of like bomb yourself, right? Like go down super a straight line basically, and then pull up, and you can get more altitude from it. I liked those kind of mechanics. I thought they were fun. I thought that you could theoretically get from one side of the city to the other side as Batman in not the worst time in the world. There were definitely things going on in the world that kept it interesting, right? Not just the mission wheel, right, with all the side villains. And again, we talked about that. They need to do that again. They need to do that better. They need to have more side villains. They need to maybe have more obscure side villains. We've talked about, and I'm in full support of all of that. And I feel like you can do that, and maybe if you want to try to mix it in with what you did in Arkham City. Again, I feel like Arkham City is the one you really got to look at, but in terms of the open world, and obviously Origins is going to be a big motivator. They made it. That's their baby, right? So they're obviously, it's going to feel a lot like Origins as well. But there are things you can honestly take from every single one of these games. But the open world nature of it, I just feel like you do a mix of City, because that's the one that, okay, enough years has gone by. We've all kind of been sitting on it, right? And now I think people were saying it even before that as well, that City, this is a phenomenal game. This is one of the best games ever created. And then you have Arkham Knight, which again had a lot of problems, but also in a lot of ways was the best game, in my opinion. And I've said that before. I don't think it was the best game. I think, and people have said, what are the strengths to it? I think there are a ton of strengths to Arkham Knight that you can fit in basically with this brand new game. But again, I've never been the most worried about this open world. I feel like, again, the way the Batman games work, it's going to be filled. It's going to be, well, I'm assuming it's going to be very, very big. I'm assuming there's going to be at least the same amount, if not more, of the side villains in this game, and there's going to be different side things to do. If they do the Riddler, that's something that can obviously populate your world, fill your world, right? I don't know if they would. I feel like they kind of would. I don't know. That's a good discussion, right? If the Riddler would actually, I feel like, I don't know if we've had that discussion before, but that would be a pretty funny one to have. But a thing to think about too is, how do you balance all of this with the, I think, growing fan want of people in this world? So no matter what, no matter how they do it, and again, you can solve this by having that day-night cycle. You can do different things for sure. I think, again, we've talked about it, you need to have people in this world at some point. If you want to do it only during the day and have 85% of this game take place at night, but then you're also Bruce Wayne for 15% of the day, and that's when you see people walking down the streets, that's fine. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I feel like a growing want is like, all right, we are tired of and we've talked about it, right? We're tired of evacuating the city. We're tired of giving excuses for evacuating the city. Literally, when Arkham Knight came out, one of the first things people talked about was the excuse of evacuating the city that Scarecrow gave. Was that good enough? Because we've done it so many times, basically having like a barren wasteland of a city, right? And again, I get it. There's been different variations of that. It's not exactly completely vacant, right? But that is a problem, right? Because if you have a bigger, and you keep expanding, you have a bigger and bigger world. It's bigger than Arkham Knight, but then again, the only things going on are street crimes, and even street crimes, there's not even civilians in that situation. It's just still only bad guys or just thugs. How do you deal with that? Again, do you just settle and say, well, you know what? That's the way they've always been. That's the way we're comfortable with. We're going to do that. But we do want to have Bruce Wayne. We're not going to have Bruce Wayne at night. We're going to have Bruce Wayne during the day, and then we can start to populate the streets. But then again, why aren't some of them out at night? Are some of them out at night? Are you going to do a thing where because again, I feel like it is still possible. Why can't there be like random muggings on the street, like with civilians at night? Like that happens. Now again, the situation of like there's cars and there'd be moving cars at night and stuff like that because people would be out. I get it. That would be a little bit difficult. But again, these are all things I feel like you have to balance. So really, when I talk about open world, when I talk about how big, or if I'm thinking about the world at all in any game, basically, but especially these Batman games, I don't even go to the size, because the size is like, all right, well, you're going to see videos online talking about it. You're going to see, okay, how big is this compared to, you're going to see like those overlays and stuff like that. Like other channels, other IGN and Kotaku and stuff like that, they'll do that for you. You don't have to really worry about that. I'm not going to take a tape measure and measure the distance in one game versus the other. I'm not going to do that. I'm more worried about how do you fill it. Can you fill it well? And then specifically, again, with this Batman one, how do you balance all the other, everything we've talked about? How do you get around in this town, right? How do you get around the city? Are you only still playing as Batman, right? Because obviously there's been a lot of talk of playing as the other Bat family. How does that impact it? Again, is there a day and night cycle? Are you going to increase the amount of villains? Because I had kind of always assumed they would just adopt that side villain mission wheel, right? That had like all of the percentages of how good or how much you were done basically of the villains, and that random things would just happen. You'd have to go to a certain area, stuff like that. I've always just assumed, I've talked about it before, that I just think that they're going to use that, and they're just going to add to it and make it more like kind of their own, right? If they don't do that, well, then that's firstly a really big problem, and secondly, well, what do they replace that with? So there's a lot of questions in those regards. That's the stuff I am way more worried about than anything else in terms of open world stuff. But guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think about this open world? What do you think they're going to do to it? All that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments below. This was a fun video. I enjoyed doing this. If you guys want me to make more of these videos, it's been a while since we did those 5 things we want, 5 things we don't want. I could totally do another 5 things I want, 5 things I don't want, or like reasons why I'm worried, anything kind of like that. I think that'd be actually really fun to do. So maybe I can do that for another video later on this week. Definitely let me know in the comments anything you guys want me to cover. Again, if there's anything breaking, anything big, Batman related, I'll obviously cover it. And then next Monday, you may not see a video in the morning from me, but you definitely at some point during that day, we'll talk about whether there's images or not images, okay? Guys, as always, you all truly rock. We have the greatest community out there. I really appreciate you guys watching. Stay safe out there. If you guys ever need to talk, obviously we're here. I haven't done the greatest job of commenting back. I've just been super busy. I got married a few days ago, so there's just been a lot of, and obviously with everything going on in the world, there's been a lot of things going on, but you can always reach me on any YouTube video. You can go on Twitter, you can go on Discord. We're there as well, so lots of different ways, and you guys can definitely talk to each other as well too. I definitely, you guys are definitely really awesome. You guys seem to get along with each other really well as well, so really great stuff to see, okay? Guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.